Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Be realistic. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, we spend a lot of the time on the channel trying to help people be realistic in their price expectations. And this is one of the things we like to focus on, and it's why back in April and May, I said, look guys, we are in fact ahead of schedule, and we are probably going to have a summer lull. Okay, this is what we said back then. We are going to have a summer lull, more than likely. This was not received well by a lot of people back then, but in fact, that is what transpired. Now, one of the things we see today is that Bitcoin, okay, we're now trading right around 55, 56, right below $56,000. And one of the things I've seen over the last several weeks, and maybe you guys have seen it too, is I constantly see people promise others that we are about to have a parabolic rally. And they've been saying it for weeks. They've been saying it since basically for the last 5 weeks now. If you go back to all the way back over here, I can't tell you how many people I've watched just say over and over that Bitcoin's going to go to 200,000, 300,000 by the end of the year. And the reasoning they use is just because that's what it did in 2017. Well, look, there's a lot of things that happened in 2017 that are very different from today. By this point in 2017, Bitcoin was rallying significantly in November, right? If you go look at say the monthly candles, let's go back and look at the monthly candles for November and so that I can just show you guys what I'm talking about. November of 2017, Bitcoin rallied 55%. So far this November, Bitcoin is down 9%. Now, I'm not ignorant into the idea that, it could rally. It could rally for the next 12 days. But you can also break this down on a weekly basis and see that even in November of 2017, while there was one red week, right here, we were generally moving higher through November. But this November, we've been mostly moving, we were slowly moving up, and then we basically just fell off this cliff right here, okay? I would also like to point out that if you wanted to measure 2017 and compare it to 2021, if you were to take a measured move from say January, by this time in the year, let's just go with November 18th or so, Bitcoin was up almost 900% in 2017, okay? But in 2021, if you measure it from the beginning of the year, Bitcoin is only up about 65 or 66%. So they are not carbon copies of each other. They look entirely different from one another, entirely different. You cannot take a short-term price prediction to the bank, okay? Now, with that said, all models are wrong. All of them are wrong. Fortunately, some of them are useful. So if someone has a theory that Bitcoin is going to go to $200,000 by the end of the year, there's nothing wrong with having that theory. But if they're promising people that it's going to happen and just you wait, that's where it becomes a problem, because then a lot of people keep relying on that prediction to pan out. And if it doesn't pan out, then those people are kind of left upset and feeling like they were, ultimately led on to believe that something had to happen just because someone was around back in 2017. I assure you that the presence of someone in 2017's bull market does not automatically make them an expert at knowing exactly what's going to happen in the short term at any point in cryptocurrency. You could be around in the asset class since 2009 or 2010. It still does not make you an expert source on what is going to happen in the short term. There simply is no one that can tell you what is going to happen in the short term, okay? Because again, a lot of these predictions that I've seen, they've been calling for a parabolic rally every single week for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and it just simply has not happened. Now, if you think that lengthening cycles are true, which again, it is just a theory, but if you think that they're true, then there is no reason that we have to have a parabolic Q4. I've been pretty adamant for a long period of time that 2021 is mostly a sideways year, right? I mean, while I know everyone wants to believe that it's been some crazy year for Bitcoin, in reality, Bitcoin has spent 99% of its time basically between 30K and 60K, and it hasn't really deviated too much outside of those bounds. So it's been a fairly humdrum year for Bitcoin. So I wanted to mention that, and I know a lot of people are calling for parabolic rallies and whatnot that have to begin 5 weeks ago, and then when that didn't happen, they had to begin 4 weeks ago, and then when that didn't happen 3 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago, and then now it was going to be last week it was going to happen, and then now they're saying, all right, well, next week it's going to happen. Look, eventually they're going to be right? Eventually they're going to be right, but if you constantly think that every short-term prediction they put out is going to transpire, it's more than likely going to be wrong, okay? No one knows what is going to happen in the short term. One of the common things I've seen recently, again, is the prediction by Plan B. A lot of people are expecting $98,000 by the end of the month. And look, I mean, I guess there's still an outside chance that we make it to $98,000, but it certainly seems fairly unlikely that Bitcoin's going to rally, over $40,000 in the next 12 days. I'm not saying we can't go back up, but for us to go up $44,000 or $43,000 in, say, 11 or 12 days, it does seem highly unlikely. You should note that prediction of his is not based on the stock-to-flow model, which is a common misconception. A lot of people say that it's based on stock-to-flow. The stock-to-flow model is average prices, right? I mean, the stock-to-flow model predicts an average price of $100K this cycle. The stock-to-flow cross-asset model predicts an average price of $288,000 this cycle. I would say that the one for $288,000 for an average price is highly likely not going to happen, considering we're already well out from the last halving, and the average price so far is nowhere close to even $100,000. So I don't think the $288,000 average is going to happen. Certainly we could make it to higher prices, but again, the stock-to-flow model is based on averages. Now that brings up the next point, is that floor model that was put out there to say that 47K by August, 43K by September, 63K by October, 98K by November, and 135K by December. And I know a lot of people are counting on that model to play out. And look, there's a good chance that I don't think there's a small chance at this point that it plays out. But we cannot discount the fact that up until now, it was actually a fairly useful prediction. Back when Bitcoin was at $34,000, to put out a prediction to say that Bitcoin's going to go to 47K by August, 43K by September, and 63K by October was a fairly bold prediction to make. And at the end of the day, that's actually what happened, and it worked out relatively well. Now everyone thinks that it has to go to 98K in 2 weeks, or Bitcoin's done. Right? I don't think that's the case. I think that we still have a ways to go, even if we don't make it to 98K by the end of the month. I also think, and I don't know this for sure, there is a possibility, I don't think he's published where that model came from, but there is a possibility that model is simply a 10x multiple on the monthly closes, more or less, from 2017. Again, if you go look at August, the closing price, if you look at the C up here, the closing price in August back in 2017 was $4,700. The prediction for the floor model for 2021 was $47,000. The closing price in September of 2017 was $4,300. The prediction for 2021 for the floor model was $43,000. Again, just a 10x multiple. If you go look at October, it was $6,400. The floor model prediction for 2021 was $63,000. So it looks like maybe there's a little bit of tolerance on there, like a 1.5% tolerance. You continue on, you see that the floor model for November is 98K, which basically is just a 10x multiple of the closing price of $99.68 back in November of 2017. And finally, the floor model that predicts 135K by December, I believe, it's a 10x multiple essentially of 13,888 that we had by the monthly close of December of 2017. So the model for the last 3 months has worked out exceptionally well, and it's probably been the most accurate short-term prediction that we've seen this year. Okay, but to think that it has to play out like that, just because the last 3 were right, you could be setting yourself up to have some expectations that just simply are not going to be met. I don't know where the model came from. It could be a lot more complicated than this. I'm just simply pointing out that it does seem to just be a 10x multiple on the closing prices of 2017. Again, if you go look at them yourself, you can see that it appears like it's just a 10x multiple. And then as we get later on into the cycle, there was a bit more conservative play on it, right? So instead of 64K, it was 63K. So maybe about a 1% tolerance there, 1% error. November, it would say that it should be close to 99.6K, 98,000, so maybe 1.5-2% tolerance. I don't know exactly what it is. And then finally, this one would say 139K should have been, if you do a 10x multiple, but then it was 135K. So I think that there's a possibility that it's just a 10x multiple. Look, the prediction has worked out extremely well so far. I don't want people to be discouraged if we don't make it to 98K by the end of November. Okay, I don't want people to be discouraged, because even Plan B will tell you that model is not the stock to flow model. And I also think he would agree that the cycle still has a ways to go. Okay, so we want to clear up a common misconception on that the stock to flow model is not the one predicting those floor prices for the end of the month. It is a separate model to the on-chain, or to the floor model that he provided, not the on-chain model. So to go back to the other short-term predictions that are essentially promising 200, 300K in the next 4 to 6 weeks or so, you should know that just because it happened like that in 2017, it does not have to happen like that in 2021. I've said that for a long time. Drawing simple lines like this and saying that we're going to go back up to that line this quarter is highly likely not going to happen. Again, you would have faced a similar dilemma if you drew a line from this first cycle to the second cycle and assumed that this peak here was going to have a rally up to this point. It would have never even happened. So to assume that we have to have an immediate rally up to $300,000 or $400,000 by the end of the year, it's probably not a realistic expectation to have. So I think everyone should temper their expectations to be skeptical about any short-term price prediction promising you astronomical gains in the short term, and be pleasantly surprised if the market rewards you with a parabolic rally. But there's only so many times you can say a parabolic rally is going to happen tomorrow before people are going to start doubting whether you know what you're talking about. And again, I don't say that with any, I don't say that in the sense that I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't. I just think that it might be a little bit misleading when people constantly promise they know what's going to happen and really they have no clue, okay? You simply cannot predict short-term movements in Bitcoin, and attempting to do so is not a good strategy in my opinion. So again, being around crypto in 2017 does not make you an authority on what's going to happen in 2021. And if lengthening cycle theory plays out, then there's no reason we have to have a parabolic rally to finish off the year. In fact, it would be a lot healthier for the asset class as a whole if it doesn't do that and it slowly trends up with time with periodic corrections along the way. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.